Hi there, come on in. It's about the time here in the spring in April when everybody's wondering how is the fishing going to be. Well, we're going to have a species by species fish forecast coming up. We're also going to take a look at the trout opener. A lot of people have fantasies and dreams and ideas of how great it is on opening day. I have never found the opening day of trout season to be gangbusters, nor will you find it that way when you see our report from last year. But we are going to have kind of a sticky situation here. A wildlife sketch of an animal you're going to find interesting. We have a great recipe and a lot more, so stay tuned. I'm Fred Trost. It's Thursday night, time for Michigan Outdoors. This is the guaranteed spot, huh?
Well, I've taken some of my best fish for the whole trip, right here in this first spot.
Opening days always hold anticipation, but for the life of me, I've never found the opening day of stream trout season to be anything comparable to, say, opening a pheasant season or November 15th. Fishing is almost always totally controlled by the weather. A cold front can shut down a stream that the day before produced trout after trout. What about this weekend's opener? Well, as long as the water levels are normal and not swollen from rain, the Saturday opener should be decent.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's great. I could use that.
Stream trout, the little brook trout, browns and rainbows are in good supply throughout the state. The DNR sees no major trouble spots, so if you find a stream with relatively low water, you should be able to find trout this season.
Harder than you think, too, man.
He's right there.
I see the dad,
See him?
Oh, we see him? We got him up here?
Salmon fishing, once the pride of the Great Lakes, has taken a major body blow in the past few years. 5 years ago, Great Lakes anglers boated 500,000 salmon. Last year, the total was 50,000. The 90% decrease is partly due to bacterial kidney disease, along with other debated factors, but the net result will be fewer salmon brought to the net in 1991.
I need this one. Here you go, Walt. Fire drill. Here you go, Walt. I gotta pull it that way. Pull it that way. Hard wheel, Bobby. Give me a wheel. Give me a wheel. Give me a wheel. Okay. Here we go. Oh! Okay.
I thought we lost him.
Boy.
There.
Look at that.
Steelhead trout are a variety of rainbow trout that spend part of their lives in the Great Lakes. They grow much larger that way, looking more like salmon than trout. And the good news for anglers is that steelhead numbers are still strong throughout the state. Some rivers have the best runs in 2 or 3 years.
Whoa! Oh, he's great. Okay.
Steelhead are moving into the Great Lakes right now, but runs should last in the UP for 2 more weeks.
All right. All right. Nice job. There we go. Number 3.
So look for steelhead to replace salmon with many anglers in 1991. When we talk bass, there's no real big news for these species. Plenty of largemouths in our southern lakes and smallmouth bass in the cooler lakes, along with Great Lakes shorelines being good spots, and many rivers. The key to finding smallmouth bass is finding rocky gravel bottoms on lakes and streams.
Oh, yeah, that's a good bass. Holy catch. Nice.
Largemouth bass are often the prime catch and release fish, not because they're in short supply, but because they're fun to catch and not that much fun to eat. Smallmouths are much better tasting because of the cooler water they inhabit, but don't ever keep a fish just because you caught it. Unless you're having it mounted, make sure you eat it, and the sooner, the better. There are a group of fish that are made for catch and fillet. They're called panfish, and they include bluegill, sunfish, crappie, perch. While there are exceptions to every rule, most of the larger panfish will come from the larger lakes, and oftentimes the most and the biggest panfish will be caught on the smallest hooks and baits. That's why the European-style fishing does so well with panfish. Light line, small hooks are the key.
Oh, look at the size of that crappie.
I can't believe this. This is totally incredible.
No?
I can't even believe that I'd catch a crappie this size on a hook And look
Whoa.
how he's hooked.
Oh, look at how big that. Oh, he's
Right in the lip. Small hooks and small baits, I predict that's the coming thing for fishing for panfish, which are in good supply for 1991.
Got him?
Northern pike can be caught on small baits, but sucker minnows or big spoons are the favorite.
Boy, this is a big one, Fred.
Whoa. Well, I hope so.
Oh, man.
The DNR used to propagate pike, but they produce so prolifically that pike marches are mostly a thing of the past. They grow fine on their own.
Jeez, old Pete. Oh, no. Hey, this net is not big enough. You have another net in here?
One of the most fun parts of pike fishing is netting these things. Now, if one seems sluggish or played out while it's in the water, don't fall for it. They usually come to life in a landing net or sometimes just before they hit the landing net. Keep on your toes when you net a northern pike. Big pike live in big waters. The Portage Lake system in the Keweenaw Peninsula has likely produced some really big ones this year. Time of day, late morning, early afternoon, a very convenient fish to catch.
Oh, Chris. Yeah, shitter, eh?
In 1991, small pike and the big ones, the trophies, will be as mean and plentiful as ever.
Yes. Uh-oh. He's not hooked very good at all.
Okay.
Not hooked very good at all. Go for it. Go for it.
Oh, there we go.
Walleye. Now, here's a real success story in the world of fishing. They're caught year-round during the open seasons and have become more plentiful due to restocking programs that many clubs and localities have carried out. Now, some of the best waters are the Saginaw River System, Little Bay de Noc, Muskong Bay, Lake Erie in the southeast, and of course, Houghton Lake, Lakes Cadillac and Mitchell. In fact, big walleyes off Tawas later in the summer, the mouth of the Au Sable at Oscoda. I tell you, the more waters I list, the more I think of as good walleye waters. Walleye will be the rising star in Michigan's fishery in 1991. Salmon, unfortunately, are still on the wane, but we hope that that's bottomed out. Other species are holding steady, and overall, it looks like a good year of fishing coming up in Michigan outdoors. There can be hazards associated with fishing. Of course, the water, drowning, boating accidents, that's the big dangers. But there are some critters along shore that you might run into that might be a little dangerous. One of them is this fellow. This is a porcupine. And it's easy to get close to a mounted one like this, but they can get real surly and real nasty if you get them cornered. We're going to have right here a wildlife sketch. We have a number of wildlife sketches coming up this summer, sort of a new addition we're adding to Michigan Outdoors. But this is a porcupine down at Wildlife Acres in the Irish Hills.
This is a little sticky situation right here. This is our porcupine. And he's knocking his teeth together there. Yeah, he's talking to you. Listen to him.
Let's come up here. Now, they cannot throw their quills.
They cannot throw their quills. They have to hit you with that tail or whatever it is that they're coming at you with in order for you to be stuck. But listen to him talk. He's just putting his teeth together and making all kinds of noise, waddling around here for you.
Now, they have large heads,
Yeah.
like a beaver. Mm-hmm. And, of course, they chew wood, too, like beavers.
Yes, every once in a while you can put some sticks and stuff in there, and they spend a lot of time just chewing around on them. They walk up here, and he sits up on top of the perch up here a lot of times, too, and just suns himself and just sleeps up there. But here again, he's eating back there right now, and what he's eating is the same mixture that we feed the fox. It's the same mixture that we feed the wolves and most of our other animals.
You can see its claws, too.
Oh,
it does
yeah.
a little bit of, it has to grab the trees. This porcupine, the smell of this porcupine is as close to human BO. It really is. This smells like an entire Red Wings or Tigers locker room.
There you go.
No, Lions locker room. I correct that. Whoa. I tell you, I don't mean to leave the Pistons out, but
Yeah, well, he's very strong smelling, that's true. When they do have babies, we had a baby from him and a mate when we were up in the Upper Peninsula, and when they're born, their quills are very soft. But within a matter of just a couple hours, they stiffen right up and they look like this pincushion effect, you know. You have to handle the babies with very heavy gloves. But after they get to know you once, you can bottle feed them and they will lay their quills down and you can hold them in your arms just like a regular other animal, and they will not, you know, put the quills in you.
Do you know of anybody who has a porcupine for a pet, or is that just totally impossible?
No, it's not totally impossible. There was a fellow that took that little porcupine when we were up north, and he kept it as a pet. And as far as I know, he still has it.
Where, when, and why did the sport of trap shooting develop? In England, by the 1830s, wealthy landowners had converted most of their hunting land to private preserves. Small farmers who couldn't hunt these lands developed trap shooting as a substitute pastime, first using live birds, then glass balls, and finally clay pigeons as targets. Now, the opening of trout season I have never found to be colossally great. I usually find it's better a couple weeks later, but we still go out on opening days, and here's what happened last year.
So we're the first ones on opening day.
We didn't see a soul fishing the spots that John Lund said always, I repeat, always produces at least a few hungry brook trout.
Through this marshy stuff, I guess, huh? All right, across through there?
Some opening days, John has walked through this flooded grass to several favorite holes in the river where he's caught his limit within an hour or so.
Reminds me of duck hunting, John.
This marshy terrain makes for good pike spawning, but it's not brook trout territory. Trout like the flowing current of cold, clear streams. Did your waders make it through the winter without developing cracks and leaks? You find out on opening day of trout season. It's always a good shakedown for your gear, and on northern streams like this, it can be a trout fishing bonanza.
What do you think, John?
It's pretty good for an opener. Water's really high.
It's really high, so... Yeah. But it doesn't appear that there's any other anglers in sight.
No, we're lucking out so far. I think everyone's downstream from here.
So fish will be tucked into the banks?
Pretty much, yes.
Okay. Now, do you fish upstream or downstream?
Downstream for now. We'll hit the high spots in here that hopefully will hold some brook trout in them and go from there.
You fish flies often on an opener? Or?
No. Basically, spinners and live bait for openers. I kind of like the taste of brook trout, so I like to catch a few.
Looking forward to that. We had a great stuffed trout recipe.
Sound bad?
Now, where do you hook them?
Generally through the ring on them and bring them back through, yeah. Little bottom portion of it, like to let it sit and dangle a bit with them. And
some people hook them right on the end.
that's what to find out how big the trout are.
Others hook them in the middle. But for trout, hook them once. Just once. You know, it's amazing for their size, how even a small brook trout can just take this whole thing in one gulp. You take a big bluegill. We were trying some things in a fish tank. A big bluegill could hardly choke down a nightcrawler, even a big one. But those little trout, they got big mouths.
This time of year, yep, very hungry.
Well, this is it, the first cast. Go ahead, you do the first cast, because you're the pro. This is your river. This is your hole right here.
If there was ever a ringer of a guide and a ringer of a trout stream, this is it. John's track record is impeccable. 15 years of opening days on this stretch of river, 15 limits, and this hole always produces.
Here we are, opening a trout season. You didn't guarantee the limits.
No, I sure didn't. It's a good thing, too.
No, it's only noontime, and you've already taken us to what I presume are all of your best spots.
2 out of the 3, yes.
2 out of the 3?
Yes.
But your experience tells you that the third one...
I don't think I want to go see the third one today.
What happened?
I don't know if it's the weather or what. We got high water, of course, but usually...
but that's common in the spring.
High water usually is pretty good down this way, but this time I just can't explain it.
The first place we went, you said we always catch a lot of...
Correct.
Smaller ones there, but good eaters. And there was only one other fellow there that we saw.
Right.
Should have been perfect.
Should have been ideal.
How many nibbles did you get there?
Not a one.
I didn't either. Didn't raise a thing.
Yeah.
I just don't know what to say about it. Except, you know, you go through a morning like this and you try to think, what have I learned? What have I learned? Well, there's a couple things I learned. One thing that I'm going to do immediately is change brand of line. Without getting into brand, I'm going to the brand that you recommend. Oh, I just had mess after mess after mess with this fishing line, all tangled up. I'm also going to get a different spinning reel. I had the line, anyway. So that's one thing I'm going to do. I wasn't also totally prepared. Like you said, you know,
Opening, yes.
the evening before, rooting around in the garage.
It's a scramble. Yeah.
It's a scramble. Well, my landing net at home was rotten, so I did remember to pick one up here, sort of a miniature, and it got tangled up in the trees. Of course, this is just par for the course. I also didn't have my creel. I left, it's down on our cabin wall for the TV set. I forgot to bring it. So I bought a handy-dandy, I think a junior-sized creel. So I got to remember not to forget those things in the future. I got a recommendation for you. You should install some valves on the heels of your waders, so that when you get up on dry land, you can let the water out.
This is one of these opening days when you just don't have time to try out your equipment.
What do you have in there?
I can give you a demonstration here.
Oh, so you spent several hours.
You can hear that kind of slush sound and the water dripping out.
And it's cold water on opening day.
Yes.
Wow. What else did we learn? We had great looking night crawlers.
Oh, dandy.
I mean, they look perfect.
Yeah, they're
perfect size.
lively, very lively this year.
Mm-hmm. You did catch a chub or a horned pout?
Horned dace, yeah.
Horned dace?
Yeah, it was a dandy. Yes.
Mm-hmm. But that wasn't the kind of day that you thought you'd bring us on television.
No, definitely not.
But all in all, just at the time our cameraman John Ford decided, after lugging that camera for close to 5 hours, he decided to set it down and lay down in the grass alongside while you were fishing. At which time you, of course,
hooked into a brook trout.
Wow.
Brought it in.
Oh, that's great. I could use mine. Yeah, looks like he's got it pretty good. Oh, wow. Well, I tell you, I'm thrilled to catch a brook trout that size, a 10-incher, but John Lund says that was a small one. After 5 hours of unproductive fishing, he caught this one in a stretch of river where he was expecting a 15-incher. He caught 3 15-inchers from this stretch last year on opening day, which all goes to prove that in fishing, there are never any guarantees. You going to take us fishing again and catch us some fish?
I'd sure like to.
Thanks, John. We broke in trout season, and that's our opening day report.
John Tomasi sent us a recipe that I think would be ideal for breakfast. It's called Smokey style whitefish. And I cannot believe how thick the fillets were. And now those are whitefish fillets.
Well, you can certainly see why they call it whitefish.
Oh, definitely. And they're really nice and firm, and that's one of the characteristics of whitefish. And then, now this recipe you can do on the grill or in the oven. And you're going to fry some bacon, and then that's where your smoky style flavor is going to come from. And you could use the bacon bits, but I think that the regular bacon is going to come through a lot better in this.
But bacon and fish, kind of an unusual combination.
Right, and then you want to just saute onions in the bacon grease, and then drizzle a little bit of lemon juice and a little bit of butter over the fillets, and then go ahead and add your onion rings. And you want to keep those in rings as much as possible, and try and keep them on the fish too. And then you're going to crumble the bacon into just some breadcrumbs, and then that's going to make a coating. Just kind of put that over the top.
Another very simple recipe.
Very simple.
So I presume you're probably going to wrap this up.
Right, just as tightly as possible. And then, like I say, you can either go on the grill or in the oven. We're going to put it in the oven.
Well, I don't think we've ever did a bacon recipe with fish for Bob Garner. I wonder what he's going to say.
Man, I love bacon. I could get up and eat pounds of it, okay, on a Saturday morning.
You can probably stay in bed and eat pounds of it.
With a dozen, I'll tell you, the ultimate would be a dozen eggs and a pound of bacon. That would start my day out right. Might clog everything up, but it would start my day out right. And this on whitefish, two of my favorite flavors, and the onion, just absolutely one of the best fish recipes anybody's ever come up with. Wonderful flavor.
It almost sounds like he's kidding. But the more I eat of this,
I got to admit, the
I
more I
think it
like
does. You have to get used to it, and it has to grow on you.
It's too bad you couldn't have shown those folks your face when you took your first bite.
Yeah, I wasn't real fond of the first bite.
It was not a pretty sight.
Freddie, I can just imagine a couple of nice eggs laying right next to this thing, and
Oh yeah, it would
fresh
be
dough.
good. It would be real
oh
good for
man,
breakfast.
this is absolutely out of this world. Out of this
We put
world.
this in the oven, but it can be done on a grill and be great while you're camping.
I like this idea of bacon and eggs and with this.
Hey, this recipe would be great without the fish even.
Well, there's no doubt as to how Bob Garner stands on this recipe. Oh, that bacon, the onions, oh, and that whitefish. So that's our report. Looking ahead, we're going to have some great fishing coming up. Get outdoors if you can this weekend. It's a great place to be. See you next week.
We have not had money, from what I can tell, directly taken from Fish and Game and put into non-Fish and Game things. We have had every bit of support yanked, though. Clerical workers, conservation officers, right down the line. Conservation officers at Tip Up Town, there were 20 of them. 17 of them were doing ORV and snowmobile registration questions. 3 were doing the Fish and Game work. This is what's happened. Our staffs have been diluted and pulled away. Of course the DNR needs hunters and fishermen. They're using us, and we don't appreciate it.